In 2023, I helped 40 people launch a simple product to their YouTube audience, and the average one made $10,000 in its first 7 days of its existence. Since then, I've helped over 100 people launch them, and although we don't always win big, most of the time, we succeed. So today, I'm going to give you the proven system we used to make these channels an average of 10K in 7 days, so you can start earning more. First though, how did they make $10,000 in 7 days? That sounds like utter internet marketing talk. Here's the raw transparency of it. So the 40 people I tested this product launch system on, they all had different size audiences and they were in a ton of different niches. So we had one channel getting about 1,000 views per video who made $6,000 in the first 7 days. We had a channel getting 20,000 views per video who made not far off like $50,000, I think it was. And what happened was 2 of the 40 test users who launched made under $2,000. Since then, a lot more people have done this, and about 20% have these kind of mind-blowing results that shock us in a good way. 50% get like a good result, 10% bad, because things can go wrong, but don't worry, I'm going to show you how to deal with that later and why it doesn't really mean that much if they do go wrong. And then the final 20%, maybe like less than hoped for. So this isn't like a guaranteed magic internet money printer, but it can be very successful so long as you stick to the plan that I'm going to lay out. And of course, you have some sort of following you can promote it to. But how many viewers do you need to make $10,000 in the first 7 days for launching? That's the thing. It's going to be very different based on your own situation and your niche. So if I was just to give a really rough benchmark, it's 3,000 views per video consistently and at least 1,000 people on your email list. However, some people that's going to make $1,000, others it could make 50. Now, you might be going, ugh, great, I'm miles off of that. But check this out. So this is Amir. He's not a client. He sent me his RevTrack data that shows link clicks and sales from YouTube, link below. And look, he's making sales from videos, but this is the really cool thing. His channel at the time he submitted this had under 900 subscribers, but also his product wasn't actually finished. It was in beta, and he got people to buy it to test it for him. And look, it started selling. So it might not be 10K in 7 days, but it's a start. However, there is another option here. So if you have a high ticket offer or service, you can do what Liam's been doing recently. So he made over $600,000 in 90 days using ads on his YouTube channel. But he also built a similar low ticket option like I'm going to show you, but he uses it to upsell to a larger offer. And that's helped generate $53,000 in 1 month just from his channel's organic views, getting around like 1,000 to 2,000 per video. So what is this product? Well, I call it a workshop or a masterclass. You can do them live, then sell them on demand, or just make them on demand and have no live. Now, the critical thing to note here is this is not a course. I'm going to go into why courses is just a really bad idea later on, but think of it like a paid video deep dive, which I know sounds like nobody's ever going to buy because you do them for free on your channel, right? But my first one years ago made $80,000 over its life. The second one, $140,000. Viewers love them. And what makes these even more powerful is they're really easy to make. And on top of that, they can work in so many niches. So Brian here, he helps people make Star Wars themed rooms, and we helped him launch a workshop and it did amazing. This was from the Google business space. Basically, if you help people solve a problem or improve something, this can work for you, and it's a flipping great place to start. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see the workshop I made that hit $80,000, I'll give it to you for free in the link below. But please, please, please keep in mind, I made this thing years ago. It is not representative of my paid products or program now, all right? It was the first thing I ever did. Okay, so before we move on to the system to make these, there's one big mistake that is critical you avoid, and that is building a course, not a workshop or a masterclass like I show you. So let me explain why you really have to avoid this. So if I asked you to build me a skyscraper, could you do it? Someone watching is probably going to be like, yeah, I do that for a living, actually. But for most of us, I mean, where do you start? The bricks, the foundation, the plan for the plumbing, the electrics? You're going to get that very wrong unless you have a ton of experience. But if I said to you, can you build me a garden shed? You go, yeah, of course, because it's basically just 4 walls nailed together with a roof on top. That is the difference between a course and one of these workshops. If you try to build a massive course that covers everything and you've never made an info product before and you don't know how to plan it or how to simplify or how to teach, you're going to spend months working on something that is shit. And this is also why the course industry has such a bad name, because everyone goes, I'm going to make a giant course, which is very hard to make. And whatever you do, do not fall into the trap of thinking your viewers would only want a skyscraper. That's not true, because if they did, nobody would have a garden shed. We just have these giant buildings in our gardens blocking out all the light. The whole idea of a workshop is you target one specific problem and help people overcome it in a simple way, like a garden shed does to keep your lawnmower dry. And Lord help us if you make a giant course and charge $30 for it. We're going to go into pricing later, but that is like the ultimate disaster for you. Now, I should probably say, I'm not saying don't eventually make something larger, but more that if you've not done anything like this before, you've got to keep it simple. Okay, so now let's get into the simple system to produce and launch them. And then I'm going to show you what to do if your sales don't work out and how to deal with selling to your audience in a way that they're actually going to really like. Okay, so step one is simply about picking something to cover that's going to make you money. All right, so let's go back to my first ever workshop, which you can get in the link below. That is no representation of my current offer. And ask, why did you pick making thumbnails to talk about it? Well, the reason I did this was because I used to take one-to-one calls with viewers, and I noticed nobody really seemed to understand them. So I just thought, I'm going to make a workshop that helps them with that. Was it the best idea? No, not really. Did it make money? Yeah, it did. So although there is a research process I put my clients through now to work all of this out, if we want to keep it simple, just ask yourself, what's the video topic that always gets views for me? And what's the problem I see people always talking about? And that's a pretty good place to start. Now, what you must not do ever, is go, I want to talk about X. It has to be, what do my viewers want to know about? What's the specific problem I could help them solve? Step two, everyone gets this wrong because they go and make the product. Do not do that. Instead, what you need to do is this. So when I came up with a test product that helped people launch these workshops, the first thing I did was I asked myself, what could I do or say in my marketing that would make this impossible for people to say no to? So I just wrote down this really big claim, which was, if you follow every single step, I guarantee you will make more than this thing costs. Otherwise, I'll pay you back the difference. And I thought, damn, that's good. And the cool thing is it worked. I only refunded one person $500. And the other person who didn't quite make their money back, so they didn't want any money back because they had such a good experience. So that's the next step. You need to come up with this big claim that you can help someone get the result they want, so it's very hard for them to say no to. Now, a word of warning here. For a workshop that doesn't have feedback and support, it's probably not advised you go that big with your claim like I did on the product I mentioned, because the guarantee, they made it very clear that they had to submit literally every single thing they did for feedback. It was a complete deal breaker if they missed one thing. So if you can't actually check what your buyers are doing, which you probably can't with a masterclass or workshop, what you want to do is make sure that your claim doesn't set unrealistic expectations, but it's still very appealing. So think to yourself, what is a realistic result you could help them get? And that might be something like, my system will help you grow the perfect tomatoes every time. This will help you master the 3 scales for the perfect solo. This will help you knit the highest quality winter scarf. Basically, you come up with the result and then run a quick test to make sure you can actually get them this result. And that test works like this. So when I came up with the you can't lose claim, I thought, that's amazing. Is that even possible? So I thought about, well, hang on, what would you have to do to get someone who's never made a product before a result, because they're going to suck at everything. So I thought, well, I could maybe write the sales page for them as a template and then have them tweak it to their own words. And then I could maybe come up with a sales video format they could use in the same way. And then I could give them 7 emails to promote their launch that I would just write for them and they could just adjust. And I basically realized, oh, I can pretty much do most of the work for them. They just need to follow a big list of instructions. And then I thought, you know what? If I do that, I feel pretty confident I can make that claim. So at this stage, you just work out without planning everything in depth. It's just like an overview. Can I actually deliver on the claim? So think about templates or to-do lists, or even helping them use AI to get a result. So a claim might sound like this. My workshop will give you the exact system I use to create $1 million sales page that turns viewers into buyers. And then you just give them the templates and training on how to build their own. So it's all about the specific result, not the ultimate guide to everything. Then we move on to the next step, which is still not making it. And what we want to do is we want to give ourselves time to promote it before you sell so that you can actually get some strong sales on launch. So remember Amit from earlier? He was driving people to a wait list to learn when it might open. So it makes sense to do the same as you build this thing. So what you could do is you could start to tease that something is coming in your videos and your community wall and your email, and then make a little form that gets people to join the wait list. The idea being anyone on this waitlist might get some sort of special discount when it opens. And then what you do is, let's say it takes you 30 days to make this product. Not all day, every day, you're just fitting it around your life. Once a week, you put out some little teaser, some little hype post to get people excited and get them onto the wait list. Or you could do what Amir did and just mention it in the first 90 seconds of your video, and look how many clicks he got from his viewers. People were actually interested. And then after that, the next step is, we still don't make it. What you want to start doing now is you want to build out your sales page and the promotion that you're going to do around it. Now, sales pages, the whole video on their own. So I'm just going to give you 3 things yours really needs to include. All right. So the first is a headline and a subheadline. Now, your headline, it needs to sum up your offer in a short sentence and make someone say, this sounds like exactly what I need. With the idea being, they then want to read the subheadline to find out more. Now, spend the time on the headline. If it takes you as long to come up with a headline and subheadline as it does the rest of the page, that's pretty normal. Do not rush this. It's a hook. So all it needs to do is just set up a big problem and a specific result in a short sentence. Now, some of the best headlines we'll give a time frame to, but just make sure you keep it problem and result specific. So for example, plan, cook and batch produce the perfect 6-pack meal prep in only 60 minutes a week. Then your subheadline just has to fill in the gaps of the headline and it gets a bit more specific. Now you really want to make sure this emphasizes benefits over features. So for example, a step-by-step masterclass that will give you all the ingredients, recipes and tricks you need to quickly batch produce an entire week's worth of healthy meals. So you can see that just after reading these 2 lines, the viewers are going to go, okay, cool, I get the value in this. Sounds like the sort of thing I'm down with. Now, the next thing you want to include in your page is going to harness what your viewers love the most about you, and that is you. Because you pop a video on that page that does 3 very simple things. Firstly, sets up the problem the viewers have, then sets up the solution to the problem, then says the workshop will solve the problem, and then you just ask them to buy it. You can keep these things really simple on a low-ticket workshop. Now, the next thing you need to do is just make sure the rest of the copy on your page is always benefits over features. So many people list things on their sales page like, this includes PDFs and templates, and the viewers are not going, oh my gosh, PDFs, all my problems are over. So a general rule of thumb here is, if you ever list a headline on your site or want to sell something, make sure it's about the benefit it brings, not the thing you're selling. So that would look like this: keep track of your calories and lose weight faster. And then under that, you'd have something like, my easy-to-use diet tracker will stop you binging on food that wrecks your weight loss. And it's just a PDF. You basically say it's the solution to the problem you think they have. Now, do you want to know something crazy? If you get really good at making videos, you don't really need a huge amount more on these pages, because YouTube videos warm people up like crazy. So just make sure you get in those foundational things and do your best on your content. And this is going to be a really nice, simple way to start. All right, so the next step, where we still don't make the thing, we now need to work out how we're going to get fast sales on this. So one of the things about low ticket products like this is your sales really explode when there is a reason to buy, like right now, not tomorrow. So if you want to hit $10,000 in 7 days, you need to harness urgency. So here's a few ways you can do it so your buyers don't dilly-dally. Now, the first is, if you do this live, well, they kind of have to buy the ticket, right? So that creates urgency. There's a countdown naturally. But if you're not doing it live, or even if you are, the second way to create urgency is just to do like a limited space discount. So say only 20 at this price remain. And then the third option you have is just a time discount. So you could say the discount remains until the following day. Now, the next thing you can do is a value add, where you say anyone who signs up before this date gets something extra. So I used to add a free studio build course to one of my courses, and it used to just blow up sales every time I added it. And it meant I didn't have to discount. Now, one easy thing to value add is you could say anyone who buys will get an invite to a live group Q&A session after the workshop, so you can watch the masterclass and then ask questions about anything you're stuck on, which I used before and it worked really well. Now, you just want something for the launch that makes it feel like a better deal if they get in there now. All right, so now let's look at pricing. What do you charge? Well, you have to avoid the trap you are almost guaranteed to fall into, because we all do. I've been there. So years ago, we were going to launch this Netflix style product. It was like a membership and subscription with a ton of content. It was really slick. And when we looked at all the competition, everyone was charging like $9.99 a month. So to hit $10,000 a month, which was kind of like our initial goal, we'd have to sell 1,000 of them. And I turned around and I was like, this is dumb. Like, we're gonna have to play such a volume game. We need to charge more. The person I was helping said, I can't charge more. Why would anyone spend more when everyone else is charging $9.99? But I said, no, we got to go in at like $50 to $60 a month. Just forget what everyone else is doing. Viewers don't shop around. They just buy from the creator they like. So we went ahead with that, and it ended up generating hundreds of thousands of dollars. And about a year later, someone with a massive app that used to charge $9.99 a month for it, who had 10,000 users, told me they were losing money as the cost of managing it required so much people and tech set up that it was getting too expensive. So they had more people like emailing, more people to manage, less money. Whereas our system, no management at all, more money. So I'm not saying charge $59 or whatever, but what you need to do is charge on the value your offer brings. And do not worry about all the other people who are going to be massively undervaluing themselves in your niche. They won't be earning enough and they probably have no idea what they're doing. So as a ballpark, I always say never charge less than $49 for one of these workshops, no matter what it is. But you got to ask yourself, if someone follows this advice, how much would that be worth to them? So if you help people get out of debt, that could be worth $50,000 to them. So paying $250 is a bargain. If you help people learn 3 songs on the guitar to a level, they could pick it up and play it at their daughter's wedding as she comes down the aisle. That is priceless. And that's the thing. You just don't know how much someone might value what you're going to show them. But whatever you do, just don't make this cheap because you think your viewers don't have any money. That is not true. That is your own limiting belief that you need to work on and could just be a reflection of your own kind of like financial situation right now. But then this is the other thing about pricing. You just don't get it right straight away. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the right price. So for example, one of my clients said, Ed, I make 10 sales a day of $149 product. So I said, okay, let's put it up to $249. And if you keep making the same sales, keep it. They go down, drop it a bit until we find the price where the sales, get steady. Then another client had been wanting to go from $500 to $700, but was waiting. I said, why would you wait? Just do it now. Let's see what happens in a week's time. And if they keep buying it, we'll know the value and we can keep putting it up. And sure enough, sales came in. So with this system, what we're actually going to do is find your price. So to start, you could offer a limited space early bird discount. And then when that's gone, you just look and see, does it keep selling at the non-discounted price? If the answer is yes, we keep going with the aim of getting it up more and more and more over time. And once people have done it and given you testimonials, it's going to be easy to sell too. But if sales are struggling, we keep it lower until we have more proof of results and have worked out how to optimize the marketing so that we can charge more. Price is so weird. I have a friend who took his offer from $150 to $1,500 and sold more when it was more expensive, because sometimes people want the more expensive option than they do the cheap one. So remember that. So once that's ready, the next step is a little more promotion, because we need to then work out how to promote the value add and the discount and the launch. And to get your message out, what we're going to do is we're going to write and send 7 emails. And I know you're thinking, oh, you're going to annoy people. Don't panic, it's fine. In the history of doing this, nobody has ever died from sending or receiving a few emails, apart from Steve. I miss you, Steve. Yes, you're gonna get some unsubscribers, but if you have a wait list, they will have actually said, I want to know when this thing's coming out, so please let me know, so they won't get annoyed. But also don't freak out when people unsubscribe. It just means your email bill gets cheaper. It's actually a good thing. So here's the simple framework we use for this. Email 1 to the wait list, just hype that the thing is coming very soon. Email 2, tease a little more that tomorrow you're going to open it. Email 3, announce the opening of the sales. Keep the email short and get into the sales page to learn more. Email 4, very educational. You give them a nugget of wisdom and then you give them a link to the product too. The 5th one is a story of success that shows people you're credible, that also links to your product. The 6th is final short promo. The 7th is just a short reminder letting them know that the discount or the value add or whatever it is about to expire. If at any point you get close to selling out the discounted option or the value add, just stop it and just make sure that you email everyone to let them know it's running out. All right, so now you have that. You then are going to go on, finally, to producing your actual product. And to do that, you just start with the result you promised and work out what's the minimum I can give them to get there, not the maximum. We only want the things that matter to get the result so that you end up with a quality garden shed, not a skyscraper falling to bits. So to do that, just plan out the steps and any assets you might be able to create to help them get there, like a to-do list or a workshop. So if this is like a 7-day meal prep planning workshop, we know the goal is to help them prep all of that food in an hour. So you just bullet point how you're going to do that and then build from there. So you would make some PDFs that have recipes on, and then the rest might just be videos. That's kind of it. So just remember, this workshop needs to solve a specific problem in the simplest way possible. And ideally, it's something they can do in like an hour or 90 minutes. So they get a fast result and they'll value you a lot more then. Which brings us on to step 9. We just launch it and we wait and see. But what happens if you launch and this don't make you many sales or any sales? Well, this is what's cool about marketing. What you tend to find is the lessons you learn from a flop are worth more than what you would have made from a hit, so long as you work out why it didn't go to plan. And there's only really a few things that can go wrong. So firstly, you want to look at how many people landed on your sales page, which most landing page builders will track. If it's like 1,000 people and you made no sales, that means something about the offer or sales page put them off. But it also means the marketing that drove them there was probably working quite well. And what's crazy is sometimes sales page conversions could take a hit because you put the price at the very top. So everyone looked at it and went, $149, no thanks, because they didn't value it. They didn't read anything. They didn't watch the video. So it could be something small. The other thing that's very likely, if you have this sort of error, is that you launched an offer your viewers don't associate you with. So if you have a channel that's not devoted to this topic and it just touches on it here and there with a few videos, that's gonna hurt. This is gonna stop it from making sales. We need our channel and our offer to be very similar. Then the next thing you wanna look at is if the amount of traffic that went to the sales page was low, well, you've got a bottleneck there, so you ask why. And that could just be that your emails didn't get many clicks or your emails didn't get opened. If the link clicks were low, you have an email problem. If the opens were low, you have a list or a headline problem. This could mean you've not emailed them enough, you've gone into spam, your headlines weren't appealing. So this is basically just a game at looking at just one of these few steps and going, where was the data not very good? And then just fixing the bottleneck there before you can then drive more traffic at it from your videos. So really, as long as you've made a great little product that you're very proud of and you think is good, it's not game over, because you can promote this in every video you make, mention it in your content, share the wins of people who took it, get more traffic to it, and then learn where to fix it over time based like that. But what if your viewers get annoyed with you for selling? Well, think of it like this. Imagine if you met someone at a party and you hit it off and they said to you, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Can I come over for dinner? And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And then they turned up and they put a giant bag of Herbalife down on your dining room table and started to sell it to you. That is the feeling viewers will have when you go from this friendly person who makes free content to selling in it. But if at that party you had met someone and they said, oh yeah, I got this job selling Herbalife, it's going pretty amazing actually. And you're like, wow, that sounds pretty cool. And they said, well, if you like, I could pop over tomorrow and show you how to sell it yourself. You'd say, okay, come on over. So the expectations are not offensive when they then try to sell you their thing. So letting people know that, hey, look, I'm a business, not a YouTuber, does the same thing. It's why I always talk about my clients, my business, and what I offer in my videos in a way that's not like buy my thing now, but it's part of my story because I'm a business with a YouTube channel, not a YouTuber trying to sell stuff. And that stops you getting hate, and there's a big difference. Now, admittedly, you do need to get as many return viewers and emails for this to really make you big money. So if you are lacking there, what you want to do is watch this video next, and I'll show you exactly how to create $1 million YouTube strategy that will drive people at it evergreen in your sleep forever so you can make the big cash monies. That was weird.